Do you ever feel like you can't exceed a certain level of success? Have you ever thought to attribute this feeling to the standards that other people have set for you? Self-fulfilling prophecies may be more prevalent in our lives than we realize. We'll explore this possibility by digging into the definition of self-fulfilling prophecies, their connection they have with close relationships, and the power that they have in negotiation. First, we'll define self-fulfilling prophecies and how they relate to our lives. The University of Michigan defines a self-fulfilling prophecy as a process by which one's expectations about another person eventually lead the other person to behave in ways that confirm this expectation. They broke it down into 4 steps. So first, the perceiver has expectations of how a target will behave. Second, the perceiver acts in a way that is likely to elicit the expected target behavior. Third, the target behaves in a way that confirms the perceiver's expectations. And fourth, the perceiver sees the predicted behavior. So it shows that this includes at least 2 people. But there are also internal and external attributions. Internal attributions would include such things as the person's personality or characteristics, and external attributions would include situational aspects that would affect the outcome. Oedipus is an example of a self-fulfilling prophecy. He was told that he would kill his father and marry his mother. In fear of this, he left his adoptive family and ended up getting into a fight with a stranger, who was actually his biological father. He ended up actually killing him and marrying the stranger's widow, who is his biological mother. Self-fulfilling prophecies are similar to stereotype threats, where someone is warned about a particular stereotype and they end up acting in a way that confirms the stereotype. It's also similar to observer bias, when an observer has an opinion of a group, and that opinion affects the behavior of the group either directly or by seeing only what he or she wants to see. Self-fulfilling prophecies really are important, though. We can see how someone implants a thought into our mind, and that thought can really affect our behavior, and our behavior will affect the likelihood of getting what we or what others want. Next, we'll take a look at how prevalent self-fulfilling prophecies are in close relationships. A person's belief about their significant other's expectations of rejection and acceptance can influence the course of the relationship by causing people to act in ways that would result in rejection as being the outcome. Rejection sensitivity is defined by goodtherapy.org as anxiously expecting, readily perceiving, or overreacting to slight signs of rejection. Women showed to be more sensitive to rejection sensitivity. So there's an experiment done to see if people that were high in rejection sensitivity had anxious expectations of rejection that caused them to interact with their partner in a way that promoted rejection or eventually breakups. So they did a study using 75 couples, one of which was a Columbia University student, in a committed relationship of at least 6 months. So they were mailed 7 identical structured questionnaires that they were to fill out at the end of every day for 28 days, and then mail in their answers at the end of every week. 53 of these couples were successfully contacted at the end of 1 year for a follow-up. Those who had broken up within that year had reported being more dissatisfied with daily happenings than those that were still together. The partners didn't differ in pre-conflict anger, but the partners of high rejection sensitivity, or HRS women, reported more anger than the low rejection sensitivity, or LRS women. HRS women also found their partners to be less accepting and more withdrawn, and HRS women also showed greater negativity in discussion, which accounted for their partner's anger. HRS women also showed hostility to their partners following a perceived threat to the relationship. And women who expected rejection behaved in ways that elicited rejection responses. And these rejection responses were measured by the responses that were given to the questionnaires, either promoting dissatisfaction or thoughts of ending the relationship. Finally, we'll examine self-fulfilling prophecies and their power in negotiation. Someone's expectations of the other person's competitiveness can set up a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the 1960s, Robert Rosenthal and Leonard Jacobson did an experiment when they told teachers that they could identify which of their students would be late bloomers. Now, this wasn't true, but the teachers had this newfound expectation of these certain students that caused them to give them more attention and encouragement, which led these students to actually be more energized and to work harder. Based on this experiment, Christina Dykman from the University of Utah, N. Tan Brunzel from Notre Dame, and Adam Galinsky from Columbia Business School found that those who expected their opponents to be more competitive actually reduced their own demands and achieved worse outcomes. They allowed their opponent to claim more value and to be more competitive. So this self-fulfilling prophecy created a self-defeating reality where the opponents viewed themselves as more competitive. As an example, let's say you think you have a competitive buyer. So you lower your prices unnecessarily, and that results in a worse outcome for you. You lose money, but a better outcome from your buyer. Your buyer now considers himself a competitive negotiator, and that may cause him to act more competitively, when really you were the one who kind of elicited that behavior from your buyer. So how would you combat this? You can consider the strengths and the weaknesses of the other party, and then you can check these assumptions during the negotiation. You need to be prepared for the person to act unexpectedly. People aren't always going to meet the expectations that you have for them. So in conclusion, we can see that self-fulfilling prophecies are seen in various aspects of our lives. The definition of self-fulfilling prophecies, their prevalence in close relationships, and the connection that they have with negotiation show how common they really are. We just need to be aware of self-fulfilling prophecies to help combat their negative effects, and then we can exceed the standards of others if we set our minds to it.